Okay, we are live now. So
Alright.
people get to watch the replay, and we don't really
Okay.
have to wait for people to join in, before we
Okay.
start so that we can finish on time. Okay,
All right.
yeah. So good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Esther.
Good
Isn't
evening,
it I'm
everyone.
Louise? I'm a medical doctor and the convener of this conversation, the stress awareness conversation, which we are holding because this month of April is the stress awareness month. And also, we are also hosting a summit at the end of the month, which I'll tell you guys about later. And with me is a wonderful lady, Esther. So I'm not going to give an introduction about her. I'll let her do that. Okay. So, Esther, tell us
Hello,
about you.
everyone. Good evening. I'm actually excited to be here on this show. First of all, I would like to appreciate Dr. Izine for having me. It's a privilege. I am so grateful. So, like she said earlier, my name is Esther Ogbaji. I'm presently in Nigeria, Abuja precisely. I'm a mental health nurse. And besides that, I'm also a mother of four beautiful boys. So um, I'm passionate about mental health actually. And one thing that drew me to mental health is that I'm fascinated about the mind. So I really want to understand what goes on in the mind, and mental health nursing was something that appeals to me. So presently, I have a community for women. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Very well, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I have a community where I deal with women, working moms who are overstressed, who are overwhelmed. And what we do there is we try to build and cultivate resilience. And we do this by actually teaching stress management. I became interested in stress management, in anything that had to do with stress, when I fell victim to stress and overwhelm after I had my first child. But before then, I had always known that in the midst or at the center of mental health, you have stress there. There's this definition of mental health that I have come to love. That you see, mental health is successful adaptation to stressors, stressors in the internal and external environment. And then when this person has adapted successfully, you see it evidenced by thoughts, behaviors, thinking that are age appropriate, that are congruent with social and cultural norms. So I see managing stress as a key to thriving. And so I have been interested in stress management. After I had my child, I prayed for a while before my baby came. And so when baby came, even with the stress of being a first time mom, I shrugged it off. I didn't face it headlong. I prayed for this, so I should bear whatever comes with it. But at a point, it began to become overwhelming. The headaches were something else. And so I knew that no, I needed to confront this. I needed to deal with it. It's not it's not going to just go away by saying God will help me, by saying this will pass. If I'm not intentional about it, then this is going to crush me. And so I deliberately began to look into stress. And when I was able to come afloat, I discovered that there were still a whole lot of women going through this. And so I stepped out in my little corner. I started talking to women. And early this year, I started a community for working moms. We're doing well, we're trying, we're making impact little by little. And I'm excited about it. So that's the little about me, Doctor.
Wow. Wow. It's really interesting. I picked two things from the things you were saying. You talked about
Yeah,
stress being at the core of mental health, like at the center.
exactly.
Like if you can manage your stress, then you have your mental health going well for you. And you're the
Yes.
second person that I'm hearing this from. This is a perspective I've known, but it's not usually talked about like that because people go
Mm.
straight for this is depression, anxiety, without addressing the root cause or the beginning stage of
Yes.
stress. So you're the second
Yes.
person I'm hearing this from, and it's getting me really excited that we
Yeah.
have in-depth understanding about what's going on, what stress is is
Can
actually,
do. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And then the second thing is the way you're talking. Like it's so calm, so calming and so
Ah.
soothing. Like if you're my stress management coach, I know that
Ah.
by the end of the session, I'll feel so distressed and so relieved. I
Ah.
love the way you talk. It's so calm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So the next thing I let's just go straight to this conversation. Okay, how
Okay.
stress impacts our lives. I know you told us a little bit about your story. Yeah, which
Yeah.
is insightful already. So tell us a bit more about how stress impacts our lives.
Okay. First of all, before we go into how it impacts our life, there is something I would like to lay down. Stress have had a negative reputation, a bad reputation. People see it as something negative, like nothing good can come out of it. But then, if you look at it very well, stress is neither good nor bad. Yes, because those stressors that people actually say these are good stressors, these are bad stressors, there are people who have gone through something seemingly negative and they came out with more resilience. They came out thriving. And then there are other people who have been exposed to something we think this is a good thing, this is a happy event, but then they broke down under such things like a wedding. The wedding day is supposed to be a very happy day for somebody, for everybody, for anyone getting married. There are people who, after a wedding, they were flat out, crushed, stressed up, and then so I want us to see stress as something that could go either way. I see stress as this gap between demand and capacity. The body places a demand on you, and then you are supposed to respond. Your capacity to respond to that demand will determine if that will be a stress for you or if you can just sail through it. Now, the wider that gap is, sorry, it will mean the greater the stress. So, stress happens when that demand is coming too much at the same time, or that demand came and you are powerless to do anything about it. And then the third thing is that demand is going on and on and on. Normally, stress should be acute, should happen, and then in a very short while, it should disappear, it should go away, and your body returns back to its pre stress state. But if anything happens and then it becomes prolonged, that's where the problem comes. And that's where we'll now start talking about the impact of stress on the body. And I'm very sure when we say impact, it's going to mean the negative impacts. It's going to mean the unpleasant impacts, the unpleasant effects stress has on the body. Stress, the effects and the impact of stress on the body goes even way beyond what a lot of people might think. It goes way beyond um, the increased heartbeats, it goes way beyond increased respiration. Stress is capable of affecting our immune system. You might wonder why those periods when you feel stressed, you become even more susceptible to Some very common illnesses. You find yourself coming down with cold, coming down with the flu, and you'll be wondering what is happening. It's the stress, dear. It's the stress. Stress has a way of bringing down your immune system. And what you should normally be able to resist, what you should normally be able to fight, discover that it brings you down. So that's one very big effect or impact of stress. Stress has a way of giving headaches. I mentioned that when I was talking about myself. It's kind of headaches that will not go away even when you go to sleep. For me, when I have headaches, or if I have headaches, I begin to rule out. I'll rule out, is it poor sleep? It's okay, we've ruled out sleep. Okay, am I hungry? Or we've ruled out that it's not hypoglycemia. Then it must be stress. So those headaches that just keep going on and on, it's going to be like there's a tight band around your head. It's not relenting. You take water, even when you take paracetamol, it's still there. Please check your stress. It's very possible stress is playing something on that individual. So for people, even people who have background migraines, stress is very, very capable of triggering or exacerbating that. It could just bring up an episode of migraine for that person. So most times when we are able to control or manage our stress, we discover that we are able to manage our lives, we are able to thrive. So managing stress does not necessarily mean eliminating stress. That is not possible. Actually, we do need stress. Don't you think so? We do need stress because stress could motivate us to go beyond our comfort zone, to motivate us to do more. Stress could also be a trigger for growth. So if we completely eliminate stress, then we become complacent. We just sit down, we're not making progress. So we will not want to eliminate stress. So these are some areas where people do not readily think stress impacts on them. And one more thing that stress does, which some people may not be aware of, is that it is communicable. It is contagious. Let me put it that way. It is contagious. If, as a mom, I come back home from work stressed up and I did not manage that stress before stepping into the house, before you know it, sooner rather than later, everyone in the house will pick up that stress because I'll begin to shout at this person, I'll be irritable, and the way I communicate to my kids, they will reciprocate to me, even my spouse, my husband. So stress impacts on our relationship. After I had my child, then where I was still trying to suppress those symptoms and those signals that my body was giving to me. Hey, do something. Hey, do something. And because I kept keeping them down, not confronting and dealing with them, I was becoming easily irritated, oversensitive. Things that should not get at me began to get at me, and then I would lash out. So my relationship was becoming strained because I refused to address that underlying stress. So when you manage stress, you prevent it from spilling over to other areas of your life because there are receptors for cortisol all over the body, all over the body. So when cortisol remains very high, cortisol is the stress hormone. When it remains very high in the body, depending on the area, it begins to manifest symptoms, begin to show unpleasant things, and then the whole individual is affected. Even autoimmune problems, stress has a way of triggering episodes of such diseases. So the impact of stress is really, really far reaching. Really far reaching. So let me stop here in case you have something to say now.
This is like a situation of, hey, stress. So like,
Really?
yeah, I wish a lot of people know this. People can be able to explain some things they are going through. Maybe sorry, give me a second.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay, man.
So, with regards to the impact of stress, I wish people understand these things so that they can be able to explain certain symptoms they are going through, certain behaviors, certain emotions. And then
Yes.
the one that really caught my attention was the one that affects our relationships. Where you've become the irritable person, and also how stress impacts on sex drive. You're no longer interested, and it will start
Mm-hmm.
raising suspicions, like
Exactly.
unnecessary suspicions. Okay, maybe my partner is no longer interested in me, whereas it's stress that is at the root cause of all
Exactly.
of these. Yeah.
Sincerely.
So how do you think let me say someone or couples can help each other, because there is increased rate of divorce these days. The people that are suffering all of these is the children, not even the people
Yes.
that are involved in the divorce rate or the separation. It's the kids. So how do we, or how will partners help to manage their stress to the point where it won't affect the lives of their children?
Mm.
What do you
Well,
think?
first of all, I think self awareness is very key. Self awareness. If I am aware, if I have good self awareness, I should be able to know when I'm feeling stressed. I should be able to know when that stress is spilling out to others. If I know I'm feeling stressed up, I need to take a step back. As individuals, whether consciously or unconsciously, we have ways in which we handle our stress. Some might be working, some might not be working. But as individuals, we all have ways in which we manage our stress. So if I am self aware that, hey, I am getting stressed, then I should come back, take a step back. And also for our spouses, like my husband, if I complain that I'm feeling headache, he'll begin to help me tick the boxes. Have you eaten? Did you sleep well? Have you taken enough water? Then you need some rest. So if you know your spouse, you'll be able to identify some things that will signal that my spouse, my wife, my husband is becoming stressed up. So please just take the day off. I'll take care of the kids. Go do your thing. Go take care of yourself. Because as parents, especially as moms, we cannot give out from an empty vessel. So if you keep giving out, and you're not having time to get yourself refreshed, refueled, re energized, it will begin to tell on others and tell on your relationship. So self awareness is very important. Even before you begin to practice other self management strategies, stress management strategies or skills or tips, I need to be aware that first of all, I need to have an insight that I am stressed up, and then accept that I am stressed up, and then I need to manage this. Sometimes we use a blanket, we use an umbrella to cover what we are feeling, and then we let it fester. And then this thing keeps eating up on the inside, keep eating up. And by the time it finally blows out, it goes way out of proportion and does a whole lot more damage. So I think self awareness is really important. Self awareness will give you an insight into yourself. Like, hey, it's time for me. I need me time. I need self care. So I think that's like the basic thing
Wow.
we need to
Yeah.
do.
I agree with you with regards to self awareness because for instance, one thing I tell people is, see, you have to be really, really aware enough to understand when there are changes to your emotions, as in to
Exactly.
recognize them as quickly as they happen, because that's what makes the difference. If you don't
Yes.
recognize them as quickly as they happen, then you're already it's going to be late, and then you struggle more to bring yourself out of
Yes.
that change. So
Yes.
if you're self-aware enough, you know that I'm feeling something different from my usual self right now. So what
Exactly.
happened?
Exactly.
What happened, then you're trying to find
Find
solutions to what
out.
it
Yes.
is. Even if you don't have the solution at the moment, at least you have an insight into what's going on. If not, like you
Exactly.
mentioned, it will keep building up, and then you realize you're no longer
Yes.
sleeping well, or you sleep and wake
Uh-huh.
up, your heart is beating really fast. There are things that have not been
Exactly.
addressed properly, and then
Exactly.
if it keeps accumulating, one day you just bust out, and
Yeah.
the whole house will not
Begin
contain
to
you
talk to
again.
yourself.
Telling you, people will be like, "What's going on with you? Is everything
Yes.
okay?
All right.
Is everything okay with you?" So
Exactly.
that self awareness is, I agree with you, is the number one thing on this journey of stress management. I told people, I created a course on stress management, and one of the things I told them is, see, stress management strategies, all the things that you see on the internet, social media, is not for everyone. For instance, you don't see somebody that is dealing with financial stress, and like you explained, the capacity is low than the demand.
Mhm.
So, person,
Yeah.
and this is due to finance, and then you tell the person, manage your stress by going to the spa. It doesn't make
It
sense.
doesn't make sense. It doesn't make
It
sense.
doesn't make sense. So it's stress management is unique, is personalized to every individual. You have to know what works for you. And Esther have already told us that it's that the first thing is you have to be really self-aware to
Yeah.
understand the kind of stress you're going through, and also
Exactly.
the kind of things that work for you. For some people, they love
Yes.
music. It's not everybody that does,
Yeah.
you know. So understand the kind of things that work for you. So I think we should be rounding off now. Any final things to
Okay.
say?
Um. Well, I one thing I would like to say is something I also tell the women I work with.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of stress management techniques, strategies. We're inviting you also for a summit, and you will learn a lot of new things. But if you don't have the right mindset towards this, I tell you, it will not work even one bit for you.
Mm.
Some people approach life, not just stress, life in general, with a defeatist mindset.
Ah,
They already believe that that's how it's going to be. Let it be. Just say what you want to say, and we'll just go and mark attendance and go. Or let me pay for the course and listen. But at the back of their mind, they're already believing that this I can't get out of stress. I can't manage stress. This is going to kill me. This is going to I'll be submerged. It will drown me. So what I advise is have a change of mind towards stress and stress management. Stress is not all bad. You can actually thrive even in the midst of stress. The thing is for you to keep it at a manageable level. So that's my take home. That's my final word. Have a positive mindset. Have the right mindset towards stress management. It will go and it will take you a very long way, give you results even beyond what you are expecting. So thank you, doctor.
wow. Thank you so much for that. I didn't I didn't see this coming. Thank you so much for that. It starts with the mindset. Yes. Sorry, give me a second.
All right now.
So it starts with the mindset that it's actually possible for you to manage your stress, to keep it at a manageable
Yes.
level. Wow.
Yes.
Wow, thank you so much for that. If not, we'll just keep hammering, saying things without,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
as in things that are not
Achieving any
consistent.
results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you
Wow.
wonder, you're pouring so much into this person,
Hmm.
and so you sit back and ask the person, what do you actually think about this thing we're doing?
Hmm.
The Bible says is as a man thinks in his heart, that's how he is.
Hmm.
So if from the mind the person has not been transformed, is it's just going to be like pouring water at the back of a duck.
Yeah. And then talking about the mind, the kind of information we feed our minds with also
Yes.
influences how we manage our stress. If
Yes.
you're on the internet and you're only reading up the negative news, when you experience certain stresses, you're going to approach them from a defeated mindset. Like, okay,
Exactly.
this is the reality.
It's
The,
normal.
the more
Mm-hmm.
you're feeding yourself with these negative things, the more they become your reality in your subconscious. You will not realize it until it manifests in certain ways. You
Yes.
encounter a stressful situation, and instead of you to approach it with the mindset of winning this situation, you're already approaching it
You're
from a defeated
defeated.
mindset because of the kind of food
Yes.
you fed yourself with before now. So these
Yes.
things are like subtle changes that happen so long as you're exposing yourself to all those negative news on social media. So you highlighted something really important tonight, and that is working on our minds, feeding our minds
Yes.
with the right
You're
things.
right.
Those social
Exactly.
media news that you're following that you think is harmless, it is not as
And
harmless as
not.
it seems, as it seems,
Exactly.
because life is going to throw things at you. But how you approach the situation is going to be based on how well you've prepared yourself ahead of
Yes.
time, not instantly,
Exactly.
like ahead of time.
Exactly.
And this is influenced by the kind of things you've been hearing, the kind of things you've been reading, the kind of things you've been watching. So it
Mm-hmm.
has a way of shaping who we really are, our core being. And that
Yes.
will influence how we approach situations, how we approach life. Someone once told me about the kind of negative news he's been reading about marriages, and
Mm.
then he had a slight disagreement. He's actually a lady. She had a slight disagreement with the spouse, and then her mind started going towards divorce, as in the
Immediately.
extreme. The extreme divorce. Maybe she started relating it to one of the things she has read a long
Scenarios.
time
Yeah.
ago. So it's very important for us to really guard our minds, to really protect our
Yes.
minds, because that's the first winning point or winning stance
Exactly.
of managing stress or winning life
Stress.
battles. Yeah, guarding our
Completely
minds and
agree.
filling it with positives. I call it building your mental wellness bank, because
Mm.
if you're depositing the good currency, if you're depositing good stuff there, when life throws things at you, you're able to
Or
withdraw from
withdraw.
it and fight. But
Yeah.
if your mental wellness bank is already in deficit, how are you going to fight?
Eh, you're in trouble.
Right. So thank you so much. Thank you for highlighting that of the mind, because it's the number one thing. Thank you so much, Esther. It's
Thank
really a
you for
pleasure to
having
have
me.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Wow,
Yes,
thank you so
ma'am.
much. And I'm going to share this so that more people will get to learn from this. It's very important for us to know. And to everyone watching us, we are inviting you to a stress management summit coming up on the 28th and 29th of April. Let me just put it up here. So this year's summit, we are going to be looking at my child's mental well-being. We've been talking about mental health of other people, but this time around, we are going to narrow it down to that of the child. And oh, we have lots of adults now dealing with childhood trauma. It shouldn't be
Mm.
our portion. It shouldn't be the lot of our own children. So this is an opportunity to
Yes.
learn from 10 experts across Africa and at no cost. Just register with the link that is already showing on the screen. It's going to be really interesting, insightful, educative, and it's like you're going to learn like lifetime skills that you can always apply. Okay, so I really encourage you to be part of it. Once again, thank you so much, Esther. It's really a pleasure to have you tonight and for
Thank you for giving
taking
me
us
the
through the
opportunity.
ropes of stress, especially as a mental health nurse, because you really hammer the physical implications of stress. Thank you. At least it will save us some.
Welcome.
It will save us some
Thank
hospital
you.
bills.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
It's a
grateful.
pleasure. It's a
Yes,
pleasure.
ma'am.
All right. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Hope to see you again at the Stress Management Summit. I'm looking at hosting a question and answer session for the upcoming Stress Management Summit, so to be able to answer any questions you have regards to the summit. And if it's going to happen, you'll hear about it. But if it won't happen, that's still okay. I look forward to seeing you at the summit. Take care and have a blessed evening.